Welcome to Life Stories, where we bring you heartfelt tales of resilience, love, and the lessons life teaches us. In today's story, we follow Emily, a woman facing betrayal from her own brother after the loss of their beloved grandmother, Clara. But what begins as a tale of heartbreak transforms into one of justice and redemption. Thanks to Clara's wisdom and foresight, this journey is a powerful reminder of the enduring strength of family, the importance of integrity, and the beauty of leaving behind a meaningful legacy. Subscribe to Life Stories and join us as we begin today's inspiring journey. The eviction notice felt impossibly heavy in my hands as I sat across from my brother, Jason, in the heart of what had once been our grandmother Clara's warm and welcoming kitchen. He was lounging in her favorite chair, the one with the worn floral cushion she used to sit on while sipping her morning coffee, his polished shoes propped carelessly on the antique wooden table. Jason wore the insufferable smirk I'd come to loathe over the years. A smirk that carried with it an air of entitlement. As if he always knew he'd win no matter the stakes. "Don't look so shocked, Emily," he said, taking a deliberate sip from Grandma Clara's cherished china cup. The same one she'd once used to serve me hot cocoa on rainy afternoons. His casual tone felt like a slap in the face. "You had to know this was coming. Grandma always liked me best." I wanted to scream, to hurl the cup from his hands and watch it shatter like the world he was so determined to destroy. But instead, I sat frozen, gripping the papers tighter, my knuckles white. "My name is Emily Harper, and at 33, I was staring homelessness in the face, courtesy of my own brother. It had been 3 months since Grandma Clara passed, and with her went the only person who ever truly understood me. Her home in Savannah, Georgia, a place steeped in love, history, and memories, was all I had left of her. I'd moved in 5 years ago when her health started to decline, putting my career as an art conservator on hold to care for her full-time. Every room of that colonial house held pieces of her life, her laughter, and her wisdom. The walls whispered stories of Sunday dinners, Christmas mornings, and quiet evenings spent listening to her recount tales from her childhood. Jason, meanwhile, had barely made an appearance. Too busy with his booming real estate ventures in Atlanta. He hadn't even visited her once during those final years. And now, sitting here in her chair, he had the audacity to talk about what she always wanted. "She wouldn't do this," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "She promised me I could stay here." Jason's laugh was sharp, cutting through me like a blade. "Promises don't mean a thing without legal documentation, sis. And these papers," he waved the deed in front of me as if it were a trophy, "say it all belongs to me now. Including this dusty old house." I stared at him, stunned. My mind raced with memories of Grandma Clara carefully placing those same papers in her antique desk upstairs. She treasured that desk, just like she treasured everything in this house. It wasn't just a desk to her, it was a symbol of stability, of family, of the love she poured into this home. "You went through her things," I said, the realization hitting me like a punch to the stomach. Jason shrugged, his nonchalance as cruel as his words. "Of course I did. Someone had to handle the legal matters while you were busy playing nurse. Lucky for me, I found what I needed." His dismissal of my years caring for Clara made my blood boil. But I kept my expression neutral. Jason had always been this way, entitled, manipulative, and selfish. To him, people and things were nothing more than pieces to be moved around in his relentless pursuit of profit. 30 days, he said, standing up and adjusting his expensive suit. "That's more than generous. I've already got buyers interested. This location is prime real estate. Once we renovate and modernize it, the place will sell for triple what it's worth now." I clenched my fists under the table, imagining the house stripped of everything Clara had poured into it, her carefully chosen wallpaper, her collection of antique furniture, the creaking floorboards that told the story of generations. Jason didn't see any of that. He didn't see the memories, the love, or the history. All he saw were dollar signs. You can't just erase her like this, I said, following him as he strode toward the door. This house meant everything to her. He paused, his hand on the doorknob, and turned back to me with a look of mock pity. Oh, Emily. Always so sentimental. This is business. Clara's gone. And it's time to move forward. Maybe this will finally force you to get your life together instead of hiding away. Playing house. His words stung more than I wanted to admit. As he walked toward his sleek Mercedes parked in the driveway, I stood in the doorway, gripping the worn wooden frame where Clara had marked our heights as children. Each pencil line told a story of who we used to be, Jason always reaching higher, always looking ahead, while I stayed grounded, rooted in what truly mattered. That night, after hours of crying and raging at the injustice of it all, I found myself in Clara's study. The scent of lavender and old books surrounded me like a hug, offering a small measure of comfort. Her antique desk loomed before me, its surface still bearing the marks where Jason had carelessly rifled through decades of family history. I ran my fingers along its edges, remembering the evenings Clara and I had spent sitting there, her soft voice recounting stories of her youth. And then, like a spark of light in the darkness, I remembered something she had shown me, something Jason didn't know. With a gentle press on the edge of the desk, a hidden compartment clicked open. My breath caught as I reached inside and pulled out a leather-bound journal. Its pages were filled with Clara's elegant handwriting and something else, something that could change everything. For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope. Jason thought he'd won, but Clara had always been one step ahead. And now, it was my turn to take the next move. I sat in Clara's old armchair, the leather-bound journal cradled in my hands. The faint scent of lavender clung to its pages, just as it did to every corner of this house. My fingers trembled as I opened the first page, my heart racing with anticipation. The elegant loops of Clara's handwriting stared back at me, and I could almost hear her voice as I read the opening line. My dearest Emily, if you're reading this, I'm no longer here, and your brother has likely shown his true colors. I let out a shaky breath, clutching the journal tighter. She knew. She had seen Jason for who he truly was long before I had. The thought was bittersweet, comforting in its validation, yet heartbreaking in its inevitability. Clara had always been wise, far wiser than anyone ever gave her credit for. She had a way of seeing the world not just as it was, but as it could be, and her words carried the weight of years spent navigating life with quiet strength. The next few pages were filled with memories, stories of her childhood in Savannah, the struggles of raising 2 grandchildren after losing her only daughter, and the love she poured into this house. I smiled through my tears as I read her recollection of the time Jason and I had painted her garden fence as kids. He'd tried to finish as quickly as possible, leaving streaks and missed spots, while I painstakingly touched up every detail. Jason always wanted results fast, she wrote. But you, Emily, understood that the best things take time. Her words gave me strength, anchoring me as I turned the pages. And then, tucked between an entry about her favorite rose bushes and a recipe for lavender tea, I found something astonishing. The journal wasn't just a collection of memories, it was a meticulously kept record of Clara's dealings. Every transaction and investment she had made over the years. To the outside world, Clara was a sweet old woman who baked cookies and tended her garden. But beneath that gentle exterior was a sharp mind and a keen understanding of business. She had quietly accumulated shares in some of Savannah's most valuable properties, using her knowledge of old property laws and her deep connections within the community. And, as I read on, I realized just how far her foresight had gone. My darling Emily, she wrote, I've watched Jason grow increasingly consumed by his ambitions. He visits less and less, only appearing when he needs something. I know he'll try to take everything once I'm gone. That's why I've prepared this gift for you, the key to something he can never touch. Tears welled in my eyes as I absorbed her words. Jason might have gotten the house, But Clara had ensured that he couldn't take what truly mattered. The deeper I read, the more her brilliance came to light. She had used shell companies to quietly acquire shares in buildings across Jason's prized development district. She'd done it all under the radar, weaving a web of investments so intricate that even he hadn't noticed. And then came the real bombshell: detailed records of Jason's fraudulent real estate practices. Clara had kept everything: proof of manipulated property values, falsified documents, and instances where he'd deceived elderly homeowners into selling their homes for a fraction of their worth. "I couldn't stop him," she wrote, "but I could document everything. The choice of what to do with this information is yours, my dear." I closed the journal and let out a shaky breath. My heart was pounding, not with fear, but with determination. Clara had given me more than just a lifeline. She had handed me the means to stand up to Jason, to protect her legacy and everything she held dear. The next morning, I called Rebecca, a close friend from college who now worked as a corporate lawyer. She had always been the kind of person who thrived on justice, and I knew she would understand the gravity of what I'd found. "Can you come over?" I asked, my voice trembling with excitement and nerves. "I need your eyes on something." An hour later, Rebecca sat across from me at the dining table, surrounded by papers spread out like pieces of a puzzle. Her eyes grew wider with each document she examined. "Emily," she breathed, looking up at me, "this is incredible. Your grandmother wasn't just collecting memories, she was building a case. These documents prove Jason has been running a sophisticated fraud operation for years. If this got out, he'd lose everything." My mind raced as I thought about Jason's smug expression when he handed me the eviction notice. I thought about the lives he had likely ruined, the elderly homeowners he had cheated. And then I thought about Clara, her quiet strength and her belief in doing what was right. Rebecca tapped one of the documents. "The timing is perfect. See this development project he's working on? The one he's probably planning to sell this house to fund. According to these records, he's been lying to his investors about property values. If someone were to expose this..." A slow smile spread across my face as I remembered Clara's words about patience and timing. "How long would it take to put together a formal case?" I asked. "Give me 2 weeks," Rebecca said, her eyes gleaming with determination. "I know exactly who to talk to at the SEC. They've been trying to nail Jason for years, but they never had enough evidence. This is the motherlode." For the first time in days, I felt hope blooming in my chest. Jason thought he'd won, but he had underestimated Clara and me. It was time to show him just how wrong he was. I barely slept that night, too consumed by a mixture of excitement and nerves. Clara's journal and the documents it held felt like a lifeline, but they also carried a heavy responsibility. I stayed up late into the night, rereading her words and poring over the papers with Rebecca until my head spun with legal jargon and property valuations. The next morning, I found a moment of calm tending to Clara's roses in the garden. They were her pride and joy, a burst of life and color that she had nurtured with the same love and care she gave her family. I imagined her standing beside me, wearing her gardening gloves and sun hat, offering gentle words of encouragement. Jason's arrival shattered the peaceful morning. I heard his expensive car pull into the driveway, and soon enough, he was striding toward me, his polished shoes crunching on the gravel path. He looked as self-assured as ever, his arrogance radiating off him like heat on a summer day. "Still here? I see," he called out, his tone dripping with mockery. "If you need help finding a place, I might be able to arrange something. A small apartment in one of my buildings. Perhaps. At a family rate. Of course." I straightened up slowly, brushing dirt from my hands. "That's thoughtful of you, Jason," I said evenly, careful to keep my voice calm. "But I think I'll manage just fine on my own." He frowned, clearly thrown by my composure. I could see the gears turning in his mind, trying to figure out why I wasn't panicking, why I wasn't pleading for more time. "Look, Emily," he said, attempting to sound conciliatory, though his smirk betrayed him. "I know you're upset. But this is happening whether you like it or not. The buyers are coming to view the property next week." "About that," I said, carefully pruning a deep red rose. "You might want to hold off on any sales for now. Things are about to get complicated." His confidence faltered for a moment. His smirk replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. "What's that supposed to mean?" I turned to face him, meeting his gaze with a steady look. "You'll see." "Oh. And Jason, be careful with those property valuations you've been showing your investors. Numbers can be such tricky things." "Can't they?" The color drained from his face. And for the first time since this nightmare began, I saw real fear in his eyes. Without another word, he turned and walked briskly back to his car. As his engine roared to life and he sped away, I allowed myself a small, triumphant smile. Jason had always thrived on control, on being the one to dictate the terms. Now, for the first time, he didn't hold all the cards, and he knew it. Over the next few days, Rebecca and I worked tirelessly to piece together the case. She was relentless, contacting her network of legal experts and investigators, ensuring every detail was airtight. Meanwhile, I focused on Clara's journal, uncovering more of her brilliance with each page. Her records didn't just expose Jason's fraudulent schemes, they also painted a picture of a woman who had quietly built a legacy of integrity and foresight. She had anticipated every move Jason might make, and she had prepared for it all with meticulous care. "Your grandmother was incredible," Rebecca said one evening as we sat surrounded by papers in Clara's study. "She wasn't just protecting her assets, she was protecting you. This house. And everything she stood for." I nodded, my throat tight with emotion. Clara had always believed in doing what was right, even when it was difficult. She had taught me that true strength came from patience and persistence, from fighting for what truly mattered. 10 days after Jason's visit, the pieces were finally in place. Rebecca had submitted the case to the SEC along with all the evidence Clara had gathered. Now, it was a matter of waiting for the investigation to take its course. As I sat in Clara's favorite armchair that evening, watching the golden light of sunset spill across the garden, I felt a deep sense of gratitude. Clara had given me more than just a house or a journal, she had given me the tools to fight for what was right, to protect her legacy and the community she loved so much. Jason thought he had won, but thanks to Clara's wisdom and foresight, the game was only just beginning. As the dust settled, I stood in Clara's beloved garden, the roses blooming brighter than ever, a testament to her care and patience. Jason's empire had crumbled, his fraudulent schemes laid bare for the world to see. Justice had been served, not out of revenge, but to protect the values Clara had held dear: integrity, family, and community. I sipped Clara's signature lavender tea from her cherished china cup, her journal resting beside me, open to her final words: "True wealth isn't measured by what we own but by the lives we touch and the legacy we leave behind." Her wisdom echoed in my heart as I vowed to honor her legacy, to build something meaningful from the foundation she had laid. And so, the house remained, a symbol of love and resilience, blooming like her roses. Subscribe to Life Stories for more inspiring tales like this one.